Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Manchester United podcast. I'm your host for this evening, Niall Hannigan, and I'm delighted to be joined by Pete. Pete, how's it going?
Yeah, Peter Fitzpatrick to get the full name. But yeah, not too bad. And good to have a fellow Irishman on.
Absolutely, yeah. And you made your debut on yesterday's podcast with Kieran and Tom. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, it was good. The nerves were there, but he came on. Wasn't quite Rashford's debut or Makeda's, but happy with the run out and hungry for more, as I say.
Yeah. You just get your first few touches in, and then you're fine. Then, I'm glad it went well. But yeah, we were kind of classic one of these kind of middle of the week episodes. We were kind of struggling to decide what we were going to have a chat about today. A lot of different topics kind of flying about, but since we're both Irish, you're new into the team as well. We decided to kind of talk about that connection, I suppose, between Ireland and United. And you made a good point around all of our European glory when it comes to the Champions League. There's always been a bit of Irish contingency there as well. So looks like we're going to have to get another one in.
Yeah, big time. And as I said before we did the podcast, the main hope at the moment, because I don't really see anyone, bar if Evan Ferguson kicks on, obviously, there's not really anyone in the Irish team that you'd be kind of looking at to buy. But Jack Morehouse in the 21s, he's not even involved in the squad. He was in the squad against Arsenal. I think he'll get his debut before the end of the season. I didn't know when I saw him. And then someone said Ireland under 21 international, and I straight away got onto Wikipedia and I was like, oh, he is. And he got his debut last month. So if Heimer Hall-Grimson's somehow listening to this, just cap him next month. Even if not for Ireland, just for United fans, we need one in our squad. It's United, Ireland, and Scandinavians, and we have actually a lot of Scandinavians in our squad.
Yeah.
So I think we're well stocked there. So
arguably too many Scandinavians.
I know.
At the moment.
We'll be losing. Yeah, we'll lose Ericsson and Lindelof going freeze, and we'll kind of do a swap deal and get an Irish player in. And Johnny Evans, we won't forget Johnny Evans, of course, but he's off in the summer, it seems, probably retiring. So we need to get the green shade back in.
Definitely, and hopefully Johnny can go back to his original kind of ambassadorial role, managerial role within United.
Yeah, sure. His wife worked for MUTV. She's a presenter.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So he's been on the official United podcast, and I think they were like talking about. It was great that he came back because it made like their commutes easier and stuff like that. I think he was mainly based in Manchester because he played for Leicester and West Brom, and it's not that far away. Yeah. So he's like red to the core. I remember he definitely said when he was at West Brom that his parents, he said maybe it was at Sunderland unknown, or that either he was playing for West Brom and they were like, yeah, we want United to still win, even though you're playing. And then I think the Sunderland, he was playing for Sunderland, and they missed one of his games that was really important because they're like, well, like, United were about to win the league. So I think he said he's like, I would do the exact same, so there was no hard feelings. But yeah, I've a lot of love for Johnny Evans. We should never have sold him in the first place. It was one of him and Raphael went in the same summer under Van Gaal, kind of, I don't know, took a bit of the identity out of the team, and they were the kind of guys who got it, the Fergie era that came up through the ranks, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he did put in some decent performances when he came back. And that's, I don't know if that's an indictment of Johnny Evans or the rest of the squad, but he did do well when he was in there. Yeah, there was a couple of times he was called upon.
Yeah, I remember he came on. I remember watching. I was actually at day 2 of a wedding, and somehow it was an Irish wedding, but it was in Italy, half the time family, and for some reason I was like, how is there no United fans here? Of all these Irish people, they're all like Arsenal fans. And we were playing, and we lost. It was the Garnacho offside and that game, and so on. But I remember Johnny Evans came on because we had like someone came on. I think Maguire came on, and he got injured. So then Evans came on, and I was like, "We're 3 games into the season. Johnny Evans is playing. That's centre back. I didn't think I'd see you." And then he played against Burnley. I think it was one of the games after Burnley, and he got the assist for Bruno, like crossfield, and then Bruno put it in. But even this season, like remember Ten Hag. Obviously, he was fighting for his job, Aston Villa away, and he put in Evans and Maguire. We played like the lowest of low blocks. But Johnny Evans is absolutely brilliant. And In like an ideal world, if we had a 29-year-old Johnny Evans, he'd be starting for us every week, and he'd suit the back three a lot, I think. So I only have a lot of respect and time for Johnny Evans, and but in a way, I'm like, you need to like be poor, Matt. Like you're 37,
Oh,
like
I
you
know.
can't be playing in this team. Like it's too chaotic for you.
It is, yeah. He's probably asking himself the same question, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that game, Match of the Day, did a feature on him
They
because of how
did,
good
yeah.
he
Like
was.
he got man of the match on Sky, and part of me, I was like, the tag's going regardless. We're kind of just delaying the inevitable here.
Yeah,
And in a way, you're like, yeah, would be the end of the world if he lost? And you're like, but Johnny Evans deserves his clean sheet. Like he's an absolute stormer.
yeah.
And I think as well, I think he was on the bench. Was he on the bench the weekend? He's on the bench for one of the games recently. I think with you're obviously the Europa and so on, I'd say Johnny Evans will get game time at some point, and he deserves it. You'd like him to get a last game at Old Trafford and right off into the sunset. I also like, as you said, the ambassador role. Him and Tom Heaton, I think, obviously they both came to the academy. They get it. I think they'd be good people to keep on as coaches, and like Phil Jones with the 18s, just kind of keep that, like guys who set the example and the standard. So yeah,
Definitely, yeah. I think Darren Fletcher as well is involved with
yeah,
the club quite heavily, and yeah, a lot of those kind of foreign players have done that. So I think it makes sense. I think he's just 3 years late to that. He was expecting to
yeah,
have that straight away, but was called into action. But yeah, absolute legend, I suppose. But yeah, it was interesting when you say we probably should have kept him because arguably, was he the better centre back with Maguire at Leicester? Did he make Maguire look even better than what he was, or was it
I
all Johnny Evans? Like that Leicester team was
yeah, yeah,
excellent.
yeah, and yeah, that Leicester team, Maguire, like you think about it, like Maguire and Evans, is it better than like, oh, obviously they won the league, like Robert Huth and Wes Morgan, but Johnny
Mm,
Evans, people were like, Arsenal were linked to him, like when he was leaving West Brom, and there was a lot of
yeah,
good talk.
City were linked as well with him.
Yeah, I always feel like John Evans is kind of bloke who'd be like, I won't go to United's rivals, like, 'cause he's a proper die, or his family wouldn't let him or something. But he was very much playing like West Brom. He was playing like so below the standard he was at. I know
Mm.
Leicester were more like FA Cup and or in Europa, and they should have got to top four a few times. So it's more his standard. But yeah, I think him and Maguire were a good mix because Maguire obviously is probably more physical, but Johnny Evans is actually really good in the ball, calm, and they just kind of worked well together. But it's funny, like Johnny Evans when he left, I think he's one of those many players of like, if you think about when people always, revisionism obviously is a big thing in football, but people always say, oh, Fergie left an awful squad, and I kind of disagree with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, like we won the league by 10 or 11 points, and these players that people were like thinking, oh, like they're going to be in England squads and whatever happens to the club, Phil Jones, Smalling, Cleverley, Welbeck, Johnny Evans, obviously Northern Irish, but then you also had like De Gea was there, Raphael, like loads of attackers. They still had like some of the old guard, and I'm like, yeah, it needed to be added to. And then new managers came in, and the whole thing was just an absolute mess. But they really, I'm kind of like, no, like those players, they're the players who suffered after Fergie left because one had only played under him, and they were still quite young and kind of developing. Johnny Evans was 25, but he was still wasn't a first. He wasn't like we had 4 or 5 centre backs. Uh, but it all kind of just became a mess. And Van Gaal seemed to have very little time for Evans. But you think about it, like Johnny Evans 100% would have been better than like Marcus Rojo or even, and like guys
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like Dali Blind was playing centre back. But you're kind of like, was Johnny Evans not like the original Dali Blind, left-footed, composed, but also a bit more physical? So yeah, I'm just glad he got back to United to end his career because he went out in a kind of weird way in the start.
Definitely, especially with a back three as well with Ten Hag. Like as you mentioned before, it would have suited him down to the ground because he actually can play a bit of ball and is physical and can play. Probably he is predominantly left footed, but could play across all three positions in the back three as well. You'd be happy enough with him centrally. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. Yeah, I'm a bit torn with that squad that was left. I think there was a few players that were that next season we're going to be over the hill. Like
Yeah,
we saw Ferdinand at QPR. But I think there was definitely, it shouldn't have been as bad as it was,
no,
and it should have
I
been looked after better.
yeah, I do think like obviously that squad needed like refinement, and also like the last 3 or 4 years of Fergie, like it's not like he was being given like 100 million to spend or
No,
anything.
no.
He was working off like post Ronaldo and Tevez. He was working off like we've got winners here and we know how to do the job. It was the United like mentality was getting us by and him. But yeah, it obviously needed more than Maro and Fellaini that summer. But it was
Yeah.
that was the real mess. It was like you need to get some players in, but then more like there still was players in that squad that it wasn't. I just think people kind of what was Moyes supposed to do? It was like no, Moyes wasn't big enough for the job. He didn't like some of the things he said and the way he, whatever. Maybe some of the players, maybe some of the senior players probably should have stepped up a bit more and kind of like give him a hand. I think that like they're two issues at the same time. Like he wasn't supported, but he also wasn't the right guy. And then you could say that literally about all the managers we've had since. So yeah, but yeah, that was the end of the Irish. We had Paddy McNair was there under,
Yeah.
and you kind of forget Paddy McNair, and he was the last player until Evans came back, and it was. Do you remember? I always remember reminding me of when the Galacticos were in their first iteration, like the early 2000s. Perez always said he was like the policy was like Pavon's Isa Dan's because Pavon was like a local lad centre back from the academy.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, we are doing that. We have Falcao, Van Persie, Rooney, Mata, Di Maria up top, and at the back we've got Tyler Blackett and Paddy McNair. I was like, this team doesn't make any sense. There's no like it was like the most top-heavy team you'd ever seen at the start of that season.
Yeah.
And we went to Arsenal away and we played the two of them and we won. So it was just very strange.
Yeah, it was classic. We'll just score more than you, and
yeah, we didn't even score that many goals.
We should have.
We just got by. I don't know what it was. But McNair only played. I think he was gone by. I think he definitely didn't play under Mourinho. He was kind of one of those. Van Gaal did bring through the youth, to be fair, and he kind of blended it with like massively expensive flops. It was just a really weird team.
Yeah.
But yeah, we waited. It was a long time. It was 8 years basically between having anyone from the 32 counties in the team.
Yeah. No, definitely. We'll discuss a couple more after this break.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body is unique.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Another man that goes down in this podcast history, has been mentioned quite a lot, is John O'Shea, the multifunctional player, the player that nutmegs Figo. He really does the lot, really. But sum him up for us.
What was his? Did he have a nickname? John O'Shea. He didn't have Brazilian. There was like something about Cafu with him, I think. Maybe the Waterford Cafu.
Well, let's go with that.
We'll go Waterford Cafu. No, he was brilliant. Like John O'Shea was in fairness, he came in when he first got on the team, 2002, 2003. He came in. Irwin retired. He'd made his debut, but Irwin retired when he came in, and it was like this conveyor belt of Irish lads. Like, there's always one or two. Roy Keane and friend. Like Roy Keane needs a friend. So we'll give him an Irish guy. But he was in his first season. Was brilliant. That was the season he nutmegged Figo, and he was like a marauding left back. He was everywhere, and he could, as you said, he could play centre back, right back, centre mid. Did the lot, and then I mean, you kind of take people were like, I think I don't know if he made team of the season, but he was like up in the running for young player and all. But he then kind of he didn't probably hit the heights at United that people might have thought at the start. But then he became such an important part of the squad. He was jack of all trades.
Yeah,
he could play everywhere. He did play everywhere, even in goal against Spurs. Kept a clean sheet, and. He was just and the best one that John O'Shea, he'd never let you down, John O'Shea. He'd always put in a solid 7 out of 10. You knew what you were getting, reliable. In the Darren Fletcher kind of Wes Brown mould, I think Wes Brown was overall a better player. but they're kind of guy party song, like we can rely on you, put you in,
Yeah,
do a job. And for likes of like having Ronaldo or someone who's like, you'll do the running. But he always scored big goals. He scored so many big goals for us. He scored that tip against Arsenal 4-2. He scored against Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final. So the last time Arsenal played in the semi-final, they mentioned it when they beat Real. So like the last time Arsenal played in the semi-final, John O'Shea scored the winner, and then in the first leg, and then he also scored the winner at Anfield, obviously in last minute, which like basically was like that season. It was like the moment everyone was like, "We're going to win the league," which was obviously huge. And yeah, he just like he left where 2011 went like every United player who kind of at that era just went to they all went to Sunderland. Roy Keane started the trend, and they all went.
So
He just
Niall
got
Quinn
out,
effect. Yeah.
yeah. Roy Keane and Niall Quinn just got like they got out like their phone book, and they're like, right, ex-United, Irish, or Celtic. We can't like no one else.
Exactly.
But no, he was a great, John O'Shea, like great. He had a fantastic United career. Started the Champions League final for us, won multiple league titles, was there. Like he was just a great, like he's a foot soldier of sorts, like someone who you're not going to steal the show, but you will just do the job, and you popped up with some great moments.
Yeah, no, absolute hero. Like, you're dead right. You summed it up well. Big goals could kind of fit into any position, really, do a job for the team. And there was a lot of kind of players like that Ferguson kind of had. They were good footballers, but like you mentioned, they wouldn't be grabbing any headlines as well. But they were always kind of mainstays within those teams and within those squads, and were always called upon. Like, the likes of Fletchers. You have the Raphael twins as well that were there. You had Darren Gibson for a while, another Irishman we must mention. But you kind of had cleverly, I suppose, towards the end, like Welbeck did a job. All these kind of players that probably comes down to the man management of it to really get the best out of these players, to kind of surround them with superstars.
I think as well, you could like Phil Neville was kind of in that category for a while as well. But they were kind of got a lot, like if you like, just thinking about it there, like most of those guys, like a lot of them came through the academy. And even like the De Silva twins were at United from like 16, 17, and were like obsessed with United. So I think there was kind of the thing that would you rather play 35, 40 games for United, win some trophies, blah, 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 be an important part of the squad, or play 50 at Everton or Villa. And I think they all knew, being like, Fergie was obviously like brilliant at that. Like, it's always talked about in all the books and like the million podcasts that are like going on, but the overlap basically, they just talk about this every week of like being told like you'll make a difference for me this season, or you'll be in 3 weeks' time I will need you. So it'd be like it was all and I think these guys just bought into the culture, and they were really important. Like they set the culture. These guys, the kind of guys who like were always there, were always in the squad. As you said, as we both saying, like they didn't steal the headlines, but they kind of just like kept things taking over.
No, definitely. And we actually mentioned this, myself and Kieran, on I think it was Tuesday night or Monday night now, actually. I was making the point after the Wolves game that it's kind of embarrassing to get up for the big games and then not have the same mentality when it comes to kind of the Premier League games. And you're kind of looking around that dressing room going, who is actually bringing that culture and that mentality and that kind of steeliness to every game? And you're really kind of struggling to pick out a few players, but the players that we've kind of been speaking about were those players that were driving that culture, and it wasn't necessarily the star players all the time, but you can't really put your finger on a lot of them. Bruno at the moment has been particularly over the last few months kind of been carrying it, I suppose. But in terms of a good strong core within that dressing room, I just don't think that's been developed yet, and that's not something you can kind of switch on overnight.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the like almost the intangibles. Like culture is an overused term, obviously. It's more just like you've good people in that dressing room, like who, like I do agree with you that whole getting up for the big games. It's not hard to get up for playing Liverpool, or it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
But it's like, there is that element. I know maybe we're all a bit guilty at the moment, being like, oh, the league doesn't matter and so on. But that's different us saying it. I don't want the players thinking like, you're playing for United, like you have to play well. Every game you play, you have to do well. That's just a prerequisite. And I do think, like, I like all the young lads coming in seem to have a good mindset, mentality. And a part of me has always thought, like, we don't need to have we don't need like Victor Lindelof in the squad on like 150 grand a week, and he's like sixth choice centre back. So it's good that he's leaving. But you make your fifth and sixth choice guys young lads, like they're Colliers, these fellas. Like there's lots of good lads coming to the academy teams. Like Amos has made an impact. Fredrickson, it's hard to know because these that game against Wolves, like neither team had anything to play for. Kind of felt like a dead rubber. But it's hard to know. But I do think like you book up squad with these guys, the guys who come through the United system and the academy, and they kind of bought in. And I think that's what we've lacked. Like we haven't had a good like local to like local. They don't have to be local, but like you obviously want the Irish guys in. But you have to have guys who've like bought into like United from a young age, and they had to. It's hard to come through an academy and get in the first team. So they've already
they're super hungry. Like
and they're like, I've had to grind to get here. I wasn't just bought for 50 million. So yeah, I think it kind of ties in with you don't need to, like, you don't want to always hark back to like the Fergie days and so on, but there are things you obviously pick up from previous eras of like you get surround yourself with good guys. I've always thought like good age profiles as well. We've got way too many. Can't just have all young lads. We need guys who are. I said this last night. We need guys who are like Cunha, like 25, 26, that kind of age. Look, hungry, ready to go. I like the fact that he seems a bit mad. We need guys like that who are not going to be happy losing games. Because it does seem there's a lot of players who are
definitely go through the motions.
Putting up an Instagram post after a game. It's like I don't understand that. Like I just don't understand that mentality. So we do need I do think that come from the academy and it come from just like the standard setters basically, as we said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've somehow veered into a bit of a culture discussion, but I'm sure we'll bring it back to maybe a couple more Irish players anyway, just after this short break.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Going back to that 99 team, Denis Irwin is a player that is talked about very, very highly by the players that played with him and a lot of players and his peers at the time, but sometimes it's kind of forgotten about when it comes to those kind of wider conversations. But just how good was he?
I actually can't remember seeing him much, to be honest. I started watching football primarily from about 2000, but I really got into the season after. It's one of the first seasons I probably remember things, and that was his final season. But again, like everyone's watched the videos, the clips, the season reviews. And again, like you say, the way everyone talks about him. And Fergie said, on my all-time team, he's the first name on the team sheet because he'd always be like a 7 out of 10. Like there's no like messing with him. But like you're right, he's never put in these debates because I think, I'm almost sure Neville was like, Irwin was a better right back than me, but he was also a better left back than like the other guy. Yeah. So he was just this like brilliant player and most decorated Irish player of all time. Over 500 caps, 500 against United. Free kicks, penalties, cross the ball, 2-footed, good going both ways. And back to the culture thing, he was a guy like that. And I always kind of feel like the guys that Roy Keane loves, like he must be like the perfect person because this guy's he seems not like a lot of the guys he used to play with. So I'm kind of like the guys he likes. I'm like, you must be made of the right stuff. But no, Irwin, I think that sums him up, as you were saying. Like he's not in these discussions. That's what he was. He was understated, and but everyone who played with him knows how good he was. And I don't you don't see Denis. He's like an ambassador for United, but you never see Denis Irwin like coming out with like a claim like, oh, he doesn't talk badly about the current players, and he's not there like trying to stay in the limelight. I think he's happy just doing his job, and but from what everyone said, like what a player, and it was always brilliant. Like I remember. So getting into football around that age in Ireland, obviously, it was mad being like, there's two guys from Cork in this team. One of them's the captain, the other guy takes the penalties. And it just felt, that's where, like, I imagine you had the exact same feeling. It always felt like, oh, this is like Ireland's team. Like this is our team. We've got all like there's players in the team and all the history, and like even like I have a great anecdote actually. My granddad is still alive. He's 93, and he told me that like Munich air disaster, an Irish fella died, Liam Whelan, a really good striker, and he was from Cabra in Dublin, where my granddad's from. And there's a bridge named after him there, and he said there was about like 100,000 people went to the funeral, like the streets were packed, and it was that moment that United became Ireland's team. So it's always been like this thing, and then so it's a weird, it's mad, like the thing that just kind of any part of Ireland, like we're nowhere near each other in our small country, but it does just transcend everywhere. Like you go anywhere in Ireland and see a jersey, or you see someone talking about it, and it's but it was mad as a 7-year-old back in 2001, being like, those guys are from somewhere I've been on holidays. Like, how would they pay for that? So it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it is mental. Like, I think the Irwin one, you can only imagine how good he'd be now, and how in today's kind of game with attacking fullbacks and the amount of kind of, I suppose the amount of profile that's given to those types of players as well. Like, could you imagine a 2-footed fullback taking penalties and taking free kicks now? Like, you're talking Trent. Like,
you're talking Trent. Talk about winning the Ballon d'Or. Like, try and beat Denis Irwin first. Like, you're not taking pens over Salah. Like, he was taking penalties over York and Cole and Beckham, and like it was Scholes. Like, it was mad.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, like the 2-footed fullback, like a left back who cuts in is like the trendiest thing ever now. Like Irwin would be coming in as like the extra midfielder, and like he would. That is the weird thing. Like maybe he'd be more appreciated in this era.
Definitely,
Back then, he was just like, that's just Denis Irwin. He's just really good.
But what's also scary about it is that, fullbacks back then would have been really just kind of prided and kind of talked about their defending. So you're telling me he's an unbelievable defender as well as this person that's taking free kicks. It's like, oh, this would be scary. Like, and he'd actually even be better than all those inverted fullbacks, because they're inverted fullbacks because they're one-footed on the other side. He'd be, I can run the flank or go into midfield.
Yeah, I think, and like just to kind of like he played. I just off the top of my head, I think he played like 527 games for United. Scored 33 goals. And now Gary Neville on the other side has like 600 odd United games. And he scored 7 goals, I'm pretty sure. So it's the only player like Gary Neville. He talks to himself a bit too much, but I'm like, no, like Denis Irwin, by all accounts, was the best, like probably United's best United fullback of the whole Fergie era, best fullback period of that, like that we've had in that since. Like Evra was obviously great, but there's no one. Obviously, there's a few lads who played with both of them, and none of them put Evra in ahead of Irwin. So I think that kind of just adds to like the standing of, oh, this guy was a real, just brilliant player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's that whole English Premier League versus English League. Like no. When was the Premier League started? 90 what was it? 91 or 92?
92.
Yeah, so it's like no
Irwin
football happened before 92.
Yeah, Irwin was playing at. Yeah, if you look at Irwin was at Leeds and Oldham. Like he had a serious amount of games before, and then he played another. He played the first 10 seasons of the Premier League, won 7 league titles, treble, cut 3 doubles. So like, the guy is, so he's won more than Keane overall. I think. He's won more because he played for United in 1990, I think, as well. He doesn't get, when we talk about the best ever Irish football players, he's never really brought up. It's always the Keanes, McGraths, Brady's, 2 Keanes. We'll put some respect on his name tonight.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, good to chat about him actually, because even when you mentioned the overlap, Neville, when you said, he's better right back than me, I think he was saying we were lucky we didn't have a left back, because that's where Irwin had to play and give me a bit of space in the right. So yeah, he could have ended Gary Neville's career very, very quickly.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like, we're just off the top of my head, even like some funny Irish goalkeepers, just players in general. Like the other Roy Carroll was always kind of a. I was thinking about him recently. I actually wrote a piece on it of the Onana by Inder situation, and I was like, God, it's an awful situation we're in when you've got two dodgy goalkeepers. And it was like 20 years ago, we had the exact same thing going into European tie, and it was Roy Carroll and Tim Howard, and Roy Carroll dropped a flanger in the first game. and it was almost like, how's history repeating itself? And but there's no end. We just need a Van der Sar somehow. But
did you see the TNT when they panned to the audience when Ferdinand and Scholes were doing it, and he was like, it makes me nervous, and it panned to Roy Carroll, and he was like, he also made me nervous as well.
I didn't see it. Oh, it's brilliant.
He must have read your piece. It was brilliant.
Yeah, God, I feel bad for players like that, like Roy Carroll. I looked him up. He came on like bizarrely. Tim Howard started the 0-4 FA Cup final against Millwall. I don't remember this. I remember watching it. Roy Carroll came on for him with 6 minutes to go. And it was a bit like, I know we're 3-0 up, but you can't be changing the goal. It was a bit mad.
Yeah.
But he kind of was quickly moved to the side. Roy Carroll. He was never really the first choice United keeper. He was there for a good while though. And he has but he'll always be remembered most for the Pedro Mendes dropping the ball in the net.
Yeah.
And he's like, so maybe like when we think of goal line technology, we should think of Roy Carroll because he's probably the one who got it introduced.
I'd say when they're doing their PowerPoint deck, he's probably the first slide.
They're just like
him and Lampard. Like,
yeah, they must be like, because the best thing is Carroll. Do you know, like, it was so over the line that you might be like, oh, it's in, like, I'm just gonna, like, let the ground swallow up. He went and pulled it back out, and somehow, he kept a clean sheet, but his face, he kind of played it like he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. But yeah, he quite one of those kind of weird. I always like the keepers we had between Schmeichel and Van der Sar was a real collection of keepers coming in there. There was so many of them. But yeah, Roy Carroll, there had to be an Irish one in there somewhere. We got one in, like.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you do feel sorry for those players because obviously, like, they're at an unbelievable standard. But when you're talking about, from Man United standards, you're just like, oh, he was awful, but like, he had a great career.
They're like anywhere else. Hey, he was like, you probably have like close to 100 caps for Northern Ireland, and all your childhood dreams came true, but you're getting mocked.
Someone remembers, that moment. It's
tough. Like, fun. It's it's a good for Roy Carroll. Like you made it. Like we're talking about you. You went and did play for United.
Yeah, exactly. We all wish we were you, Roy Carroll. So it's fine. It's all good. But I think we'll leave it there. I think we could do another few episodes when we're back on next. We'll do a few more episodes on these Irish lads because they're just coming out of the woodworks here. This is mental.
Just a preview for the next. You could just do a profile on one player and talk through their career and different moments and memories because, it was always a massive part of United's been. Ireland, no other club outside of the League of Ireland, United have had the most Irish players, so it's been a huge part of the club. And even things like Busby's first captain to lift the trophy was Irish, and like Kevin Moran first ever sent off an FA Cup final was Irish. Paul McGrath. There's people like if you look at almost every single United, the first captain after Munich to lift the FA Cup was Irish. Roy Keane's left the FA Cup Irish. So there's so many, every kind of like era of United has this link, and maybe to be good again, we need to get an Irish guy. So that's
no pressure,
at Ruben Amorim. Yeah, God, we're calling this guy the Messiah, and he hasn't even played for us yet.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't make the Grealish Rice mistake again. We need to get him. We need to get him on the pitch, like so. But Peter, thanks very much for joining me. That was great, and
likewise.
Look forward to the next one.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.